All right, my statistical analysis is on mushrooms of the Pacific Northwest, and I went into a mushroom group that I'm in, and asked them about which species of edible mushrooms did you find the largest quantity of during a single hike in the fall 2023 foraging season. 18 people responded to my inquiry, and um, amongst those 18 people, there were 23 patches of like really impressive amounts of mushrooms. So I wasn't just asking like any mushrooms that you found, but just like impressive amounts where you were just like, oh man, hell yeah, like, at least a basket full, at least a big old. I did think it was pretty interesting that out of the 18 people who responded to me, or who were down with like doing the analysis, there were 6 people of high skill level, 6 people of medium skill level, and 6 people of beginner skill level. I was hoping to learn which mushrooms, like people at different skill levels, are more often to find in large quantities, and I also was interested in like just which mushrooms people are finding in large quantities during fall in the Pacific Northwest this year. So out of those 23 patches of impressive amounts of mushrooms, people found 2 patches of lobsters, 1 patch of hedgehogs, 10 impressive patches of chanterelle mushrooms, which isn't surprising, 5 patches of impressive amounts of cauliflower, but those they grow huge a lot of times, at least in my experience, so that kind of makes sense too. 3 impressive patches of matsutake mushrooms, those lucky fools, 1 patch of impressive amounts of honey mushrooms, and in my experience those also grow a lot at a time. So I am a little surprised that there weren't more people that had large patches of honey mushrooms, and 1 large patch of fried chicken mushrooms, which is one that I've never gotten, which is interesting because that was actually somebody who was a beginner that found that giant patch of fried chicken mushrooms. Out of the people who found multiple impressive patches of mushrooms on that single hike, there was 1 beginner, 1 person with medium skill level, and 2 people who with high skill level that found multiple patches of impressive mushrooms on a single hike. And actually, interestingly to me, the people of high skill level who found multiple patches of mushrooms, they both found matsutake and cauliflower. 1 found just the matsutake and cauliflower, and then the other found matsutake, cauliflower, as well as an impressive amount of chanterelles. I thought it was cool that the most amount of impressive patches of chanterelles that were found amongst the people that I talked to were that the beginners found the most impressive patches of chanterelles, which is cool. As someone I am a beginner who hangs out with people who are better than me, the chanterelles are the ones that I can often spot, and I'm like, oh, that's a good thing, they're just really, they got that unique trumpet shape, so it makes sense that that would be something that beginners would be spotting a lot, and also just excited about, and would consider a basketful an impressive amount. Maybe a super experienced person might consider 1 large basketful isn't enough. They need a wheelbarrow full to think that it's impressive, so it also could depend on people's opinions a bit and just their own lens that they're viewing the question with. Now, making the scatter plot was really fun and very satisfying, and actually really gave me a lot of insight into the information and kind of what I wanted to know about the information. And it was fun picking out emojis for each mushroom. There is actually kind of a perfect emoji for each mushroom. It's interesting to me that in the scatter plot it shows that the most variety of different types of mushroom patches that were found was amongst the people of medium skill level. Not surprised that every group found a good amount of chanterelles, and I think it's neat that the only honey mushrooms and hedgehogs were found by the medium, and the only fried chicken mushrooms were found by the beginners. Of course, like I said, not surprised that all the matsutakes were for the high skill level people, because I've never found them, but from what I hear, they're slightly kind of buried in the ground, a little more difficult to spot. Now, with the lobster mushrooms, those are ones that beginners often find as well. But in the people that I questioned, beginners had found those, and even maybe had found them on the hikes that they had found an impressive amount of something else on, but they did not find an impressive amount of the lobster, so I wasn't able to count that. Um, so I think the scatter plot really would give someone who is just being introduced to mushrooms like a good idea of maybe the expectations that they could have going into it. That when you're a beginner, you'll find chanterelles. You'll probably find some cauliflower mushrooms after a couple of seasons at least. Maybe your first season if you excuse me, if you go out a lot. And you might find something fun like a fried chicken mushroom that everyone else is jealous of because they don't find it that often. But it's common enough that as a beginner you'd be able to.